Hierarchy and exploitation. We all live it. We rarely ask ourselves why we live it and where it came from.
It's very important where you are in your hierarchical position with regards to other people in relationship to your mental health. And this is a really important thing to understand.
Sigmas understand how the social hierarchy functions and how to exploit it for their own benefit. Unfortunately, lots of men lack this understanding and find the social world confusing. So in this video, we'll cover 10 myths that we often come across online. These are 10 myths about how the social hierarchy operates from a Sigma perspective. Myth number 10, there is only one social hierarchy. We can think about the social hierarchy in two ways. Firstly, we can imagine that there is only one social hierarchy. At the very top sits the richest and most powerful men and women on Earth. And if we use this understanding of the social hierarchy, there are only a few real alpha and sigma males. For example, Robert Redford would be one of the alphas, and Keanu Reeves would be one of the sigmas. The rest of us are just betas at the bottom. But this is a very shallow way of looking at the social hierarchy. It's more accurate to say that there are billions of small social hierarchies at every level of society. In fact, whenever a few people spend a bit of time together, a hierarchy naturally forms. For example, if you walked onto a random construction site in LA, you'd find a couple of alphas, a couple of sigmas, some betas, and a ton of deltas. Similarly, if you entered a large office building in Paris, you'd also find alphas, sigmas, and deltas, etc. There are many social hierarchies on Earth because a hierarchy forms in every group and in every organization. Myth number 9. Your position remains the same in every group. As we've said, there are billions of hierarchies on Earth. Do you think that a person has the same status within each group he enters? That would be absurd. Each man has two factors that influence his position. Firstly, he has his natural inclination. Every man is naturally inclined towards one of the positions because each man has a cognitive process that suits a particular role. For example, a natural alpha is an extrovert who always loved the position of leader, whereas a natural sigma is somebody who has never cared about status and who always distanced himself from the hive mind. These are natural inclinations. But if you're a natural alpha male, it doesn't mean that you're the alpha of every group on Earth. For example, if you were sitting with a group of powerful politicians, they wouldn't treat you as the alpha. So your status will not remain the same in every group. In fact, your status depends largely on which group you decide to enter. Myth number 8. Some positions are morally superior to others. Many people think that each position in the social hierarchy comes with a moral code. They think that sigmas are good and omegas are bad, or they think alphas are bad and deltas are good. But this is all a big misunderstanding. In reality, the social hierarchy is totally amoral. In other words, you find good alphas and bad ones. You find both altruistic sigmas and psychopathic ones. So to understand the social hierarchy correctly, it's important to separate morality from the various positions. In fact, it doesn't matter what position you occupy on the social hierarchy, your moral code is much more important. There are lots of high-status men that are terrible people. Myth number 7. Your opinion about your position matters. A lot of people want to identify their own position in the social hierarchy. They often delude themselves into thinking that they are alphas or sigmas because they feel ashamed of their low status. But your opinion about your own position means nothing. Social status can only be recognized by how other people treat you and what other people think about you. For example, you can tell a man is an alpha by how other people treat him. Do they look up to him? Do they respect him, imitate him? Every alpha, by definition, will get respect from people lower than him on the social hierarchy. On the other hand, every gamma on Earth believes he is either an alpha or a sigma male. But if you objectively analyze how people treat the gamma, you realize that he is deluded. He gets no respect from other men, and women want nothing to do with him. In other words, the gamma is low status, even though he'd deny it until he was blue in the face. His opinion about his own status means nothing. Myth number 6. Women have no impact on your status. To follow from the last point, a lot of guys don't realize that women determine your status to a large extent. We can recognize a high-status man because he receives a ton of female attention. Women are naturally drawn to high-status men. If you have high status, women will be attracted to you. And this is not a theoretical or abstract attraction. Women will be approaching you or falling in love with you at work. They'll be pursuing you in some way. So if you don't receive much in the way of female attention, chances are you might not be the alpha or sigma you think you are. Every high-status man receives female attention. Myth number 5. Men have intrinsic worth. Due to modern political correctness, a basic truth about men and women has been forgotten. Women have intrinsic value, men do not. Women have intrinsic value because throughout history they have brought children into the world and cared for them. Historically, a woman hasn't needed a carer or a list of achievements. Her femininity was enough. But for men, the exact opposite applies. Men have zero innate value. Nobody will take care of you and pay your way through life because of your innate masculine functions. On the contrary, for men, the only way to gain respect and a strong position in life is to transform into a high achiever. We must produce value for people around us in the form of money, protection, or skill. Myth number 4. The goal is to become an alpha or a sigma. A lot of men crave high status, mainly because they want female attention. And when they learn about the social hierarchy, they think the goal is to become an alpha or sigma male. But again, this is a big misunderstanding, because you shouldn't reach for things that you might not be suited for. For example, an alpha male lives a difficult life. People don't realize how much low-level conflict an alpha engages in. He is constantly challenging and testing threats, and he's constantly defending his position. Most men who are not suited for it would snap within a couple of days of living a real alpha male lifestyle. Similarly, people might think that being a sigma is the goal. But for most people, the sigma lives a life that's way too isolated from society. The sigma often keeps people at a distance and avoids social interaction. Most people would feel lonely or even depressed if they were forced to live like a sigma. Myth number 3. The social hierarchy is astrology for men. You can find evidence of social status stretching back to prehistoric man. Alphas have always had elaborate burial rituals. They've always had stories told about them. They've had places named after them. Plus, you can see evidence of social status wherever you turn. You can see the alpha-beta distinction running through thousands of animal species, including primates, and among humans, you can go to a nightclub and see it with your own eyes. Some critics often concede that the alpha and beta males do exist, but they claim that the concept of the sigma is astrology for men. So how do we know this is just a myth? If you've ever been part of a male hierarchy, such as a sports team or blue-collar workplace, you will have noticed a clear distinction between extroverted alpha males and quiet, reserved sigmas who dislike being the center of attention. Both men have respect from the group. Both men are leaders. Both men get female attention, but one is loud and dominating, the other is quiet and calculating. The concept of sigma is an attempt to differentiate between these two types of high-status man. Myth number 2. Alphas hate disrespect. We often say that alphas hate being disrespected, and this is true. But there is nuance to this statement because an alpha only cares about disrespect that comes from people lower than him in the social hierarchy. For example, if your boss is an alpha, he won't tolerate disrespect from his employees. In fact, he'll take it pretty personally. But if a billionaire disrespected him, your boss wouldn't even blink an eye. Similarly, in a sports team, the alphas won't tolerate disrespect from bad players, but they don't care if champions poke fun at them. Alphas only hate disrespect from their inferiors. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, then hit the subscribe button. And now onto the final myth about the social hierarchy. Myth number 1. You need to know your own position. When people learn about the social hierarchy, often they want to know their own position. They want to know how they can increase their status. But this isn't the point of learning about the social hierarchy. The real reason to learn about the hierarchy is to understand other people. If you understand how the male hierarchy operates, it helps you categorize the actions, attitudes, and beliefs of the men around you. You can understand your co-workers, friends, and family members with greater accuracy, and you can also predict how they're going to react in different situations. For example, if you know a man is an alpha male because you've seen all the signs, then you know that you shouldn't challenge him unless you're ready for a showdown. Similarly, if you work with a Sigma, you know that you shouldn't question him about his personal life because you know how much he values his privacy. Understanding the social hierarchy gives you the ability to understand other people. Your position isn't that important. So, as you can see, people hold many false beliefs about how the social hierarchy functions. But wherever you go and whatever you do, you will see these ancient principles of male dominance in action. A little bit of understanding can go a long way.